Okay, with the co-director of JOI, it's a fashion film played at the Fashion Style Film Festival, 3-minute film. It's about three diverse fashion designers and combined into one film. Would that be a correct assessment, Alan?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me, you're based. You said you're in Europe right now, but you're based in Chicago.
Well, no, I'm actually based in Europe. There's a country called Cyprus. It's actually one of the few countries that is still divided into two. There's a Greek side and there's a Turkish side. I'm on
Sure.
the I'm on
Yeah.
the Greek side.
Yeah.
And I used to study in Chicago. I lived there for about 5 years. And yeah, now I'm back home.
No, you're back. So do you mind asking where did you go to school?
Yeah, sure. In Columbia College, Chicago.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's the big art school, right?
know. I used to go. So the it's funny, but before US, I was in England. I was there for 5 years, and then I transitioned my way to US.
Gotcha. All right. So tell me about the process of this particular film and kind of collaborating with the fashion. I'm assuming you're collaborating with the fashion designers to kind of make their showcase film. How did this all come about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is Caleb Viti, the music artist and I guess the producer on this project. We've been friends for quite a while now, and we worked on project before, and even actually took the same course. It was interesting was during the COVID times. But I was actually always attracted sometimes, well, I would say like most of the time, by the shop's displays of the clothing that you wouldn't really see every day or let's say wear all the time. Like something would be experimental or let's just say expressionistic fashion style, something like that. I'm pretty sure there's a term for it. I'm not exactly familiar. But yeah, and so I was also thinking like, what if it would be a good opportunity for me and Caleb to work on something that would include fashion? Because at that time he also well, and now but he knew a couple of designers that were close friends of his, and I'm like, well, what if we make a fashion film? And so things kind of clicked there, and I'm like, let's do that. Yeah.
So then how did you find the fashion, the designers and the models then? Like you want to make a fashion film, but I'm assuming you want to showcase someone's talent, I guess, right?
Yes, yes. Well, it's funny because my school, they were the Department of Fashion and the film, I think they still are. They are totally separate. And because we knew we wanted to make a fashion film, and he knew one or two designers, and we wanted more. We wanted three designers. We had to reach out to the industry of fashion in in our school and sort of combine them. So we visited their facilities and found two people, and saw uh, the clothing sort of like the styles that they were doing, and yeah, we just heard someone back, like heard saying that yeah, I would love to be part of it. I'm like, great. So let's include you as part of the designers. But the big thing for us was to see if we can have a full collection of at least three outfits. So, because we were thinking of essentially like what would be the actual content of the fashion film. Obviously, would be the clothing, but we wanted to showcase at least three um, designs at once. And
Yeah.
so, luckily, we were able to find three designers that had them ready, and yeah, they were very happy that they were part of it. So.
So so Brooklyn, Raj, and is it Bishoy? Hopefully I said that right.
Yeah, Detroit. Yeah, yeah.
And
They're
they were the three designers. And when did you pitch them the movie?
yeah. Basically it. Yeah. So Caleb, because I think Caleb knew some of them and he asked them, and they liked that idea. And so we also talked to them. We had a couple of meetings with them before shooting the whole thing, and yeah, they were all on board with it.
They're all on board with it. And so then what's the next step then? They're gonna tell you what they want to showcase.
Well, they were not quite actually familiar, I think, with how sort of like things would be in a way. And so Caleb and I, while searching for the designers, we were actually prepping the film, we were seeing like how can we make it interesting, and because essentially you're watching a studio-like video, like
Yeah,
with a white background for about like for a few minutes, and you might be bored, but um, and so we decided to really go deep into the meanings of the collections and to really understand, okay, do they mean something, or is there a specific like message behind this all?
yeah,
Um, and for us, that was sort of like the guide of how we should approach things. And the biggest thing would probably be the how the film is edited with the music, and that captures the energy and the sort of like the pace of overall collection, because you can also be sort of like broken into three parts. There's three different collections, and they both of them, like three of them, they all feel different.
yeah, 100%. But there's a thematic kind of like through line, I guess that's what you're talking between the three fashions, though, I guess, right?
Yes, yeah.
And there's a meaning behind like what they each why they're each doing each fashion, I guess, right? There's like a symbolism that maybe the average viewer doesn't see, but I guess if you're in the industry or you kind of see between the lines, I'm assuming.
Right, right, yeah. Well, I do want to mention it was also interesting regarding shooting the project because it was during the COVID times, sort of like the pandemic, the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And you might think like, okay, well, maybe you had some uh, production difficulties, but it was actually really challenging, um, because the idea of wearing a mask is very complicated.
Yeah.
We we were initially planning on shooting this in the studio, in the actually proper studio, renting it out. But we didn't have enough budget for it. It was actually went to Crafty, most of it, believe it or not. And so um, we were like, okay, well, we do have a space at school, and we have some lights, we have some cameras, and we sort of like build our own studio in a way, just putting basically backdrops in the background and lighting them, and um, almost imitating the studio style. That was the lighting type that I was going for, is the sort of like how would it be if it would be in a studio? And I was like, okay, it would probably be something like that. And
Yeah.
honestly, you can't really tell. You can, but it does work. And yeah,
Well,
so
one of the styles is actually kind of like a chain mask, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah. It's more like can I put
Aesthetic.
this a little bit uh like a more a little bit nostalgic, a little bit like a not almost like a film type, but more or less like a oh, you got me there. Um like an energetic, warmer style compared to the other one. Because we specifically wanted to differentiate the feeling of all of these um uh, collections.
Yeah,
Because I was a little bit worried if you would be bored watching the film,
sure.
but especially the second collection, Brooklyn's, is really separating Big Choice and Rush, and that was definitely the intention, to keep the viewer really engaged into what's going to be next.
Yeah. There's almost
Yeah,
like a the fashion's almost like they probably would be furious with me. I don't know, but there's almost like childlike. There's a certain childish kind of like youthful kind of exuberance with the fashion, right? Like just like the colors and kind of the way they kind of present what it presents itself. But that's my impression. But like I said, I don't know anything. So
exactly, exactly.
that
The
I don't
idea
know anything, yeah. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, the idea behind Brooklyn's collection, it was definitely to pop that, have it like a very colorful and playful
Yeah,
atmosphere, just like you just said.
yeah,
You can even see that we even decided to emphasize that more in editing, a little bit more, to have that stronger, making you feel that it is different and
yeah.
it is not as serious as like Rogers or book or
Yeah, but Bishoy gets a little political, I guess, with the fashion too,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It also does get a little political, yeah. And and I think you asked one of the questions before and one of my answers was it's definitely diverse and it's definitely expressionist. There
Yeah,
is a lot that you can take in, um, and that was definitely the goal of the film, is to really make it something that would mean something out of clothing, and that's very sort of like impressive, because I was, as a mostly focusing in cinematographer filmmaker, um, I don't really think about fashion that deep.
yeah.
This project sort of like opened my vision on the whole industry of fashion, and that was definitely something that sort of like improved me into making fashion films and made me more excited if I'd be ever making another
Well,
fashion
they
film.
set they set the trend for sure, right? Like they send like even if you can't afford these outfits, like but they also kind of set a trend of kind of the future of how we're going to design ourselves and what we're going to wear, and like it's kind of like a trickle effect of economics and age, I guess, right? Where someone presents something at a spring show, and then like a year later, it's the same type of fashions at a Walmart or kind of like at a Winners or something, basically, that basically is presenting a common fashion within the context of what they were presenting a year ago, I guess, right? There's like it's like art in any sense. It's always kind of pushing the boundaries of where we're headed, I guess, right?
Right, yeah. Most of it is the idea of really um, sort of like understanding that fashion can say something.
Yeah,
And nowadays, well, I guess it depends where you live, but most of the time, you would see um, sort of like, okay, that's sort of like casual fashion type. And then when you see something very like concept wise or experimental or something that people don't really wear that often, or you don't even see that often, it really catches your eye, and you might think, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna wear this," or it might be a bit like, "Oh, that's definitely not me." And then
yeah,
later on, the fashion sort of like changes and the style, and because of something else, maybe um, because of the events, and then you realize that it was actually the trend at that time.
yeah,
But I mean, in our case, we weren't necessarily going for a trend. But it was, to be honest, we're just kind of going for what is available.
yeah,
Um, and I would say that the fashion, all the clothing pieces, they do have an effect on you, because I'm a strong believer in the idea of, if you wear something that maybe you might not feel comfortable in, you might sometimes change the way you behave or the way you think, or the way, even, obviously, the way how you appear to other people. And that is important.
yeah. 100. Well, yeah, even like, yeah, 100%. So tell me about the models then. Where did you find the models?
The models were, actually, some of them are, I actually knew them before the project, before we filmed, but most of them, Caleb was managing the producing side of it most of the time, and he was able to manage to find few models, and also the designers themselves, they knew a couple of models before, because I would assume it's kind of normal for a designer to have a couple of models in mind to wear or showcase their
Yeah.
fashion pieces. Yeah. So yeah, that was it really.
And yeah, so then they all kind of like, yeah. So then you have a film. So this was this done at your school, like at Columbia College?
Yes, yes. It was done at let's just say, at this, like a large warehouse space.
Yeah.
Um,
No, but it
and
was done. Was it done for like a program, like a class?
oh, right, right. Sorry, I didn't understand your question there. Yes, it was done for a class. It was part of the non-narrative project,
Okay.
but I was like, okay, well, it doesn't really have a narrative, and so let me just do a fashion film. Although a fashion film can be with narrative, but um, this one is more experimental, commercial type project.
Gotcha. And then so then you just presented it, like I'm assuming you passed the class.
Yes, yes, I passed the class. Yes, yeah,
And now you're back in Cyprus.
exactly. Now I'm back in Cyprus after passing the class. Yes,
So what's your
it's
future? Are you gonna make more films? Like what's your next stage in your life?
yeah. Well, I hope so. I definitely do. I personally really enjoying. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and it's I'm definitely one of the luckiest people out there who have the privilege to continue doing the something that I'm really passionate about, and
Yeah.
especially the filmmaking and specifically the cinematography aspect of it. I started actually doing cinematography. I think it was almost before college. It was actually I was doing photography when I was in high school. Um, and then I sort of like decided to transition to cinematography because I felt a little bit lonely as a photographer,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean, because
Yeah.
you're sort of like by yourself there. But yeah, I'm very happy that I discovered the industry of film and found my passion for cinematography. Yeah.
And then so you're just gonna like is it gonna get into more narrative films? Like where do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. I definitely see myself really enjoying working on narrative projects. Personally, for me, I find a lot of the motivation for how the film should be or how it should be, let's
Mhm.
just say, style of the film should look like,
Yeah.
or a lot of decisions, creative decisions. I find that based off the story and the characters and the emotional aspect of the film, and for me, it is simpler to actually understand the motivations that I'm doing to actually say myself, yeah, this is an intentionally made choice. It is something that I am sure is the right thing to do. Because in experimental or sometimes in commercial types of projects, I do feel a little bit unsure if that's the right thing to do because I have this narrative type way of looking at the overall workflow where, okay, how do we know this is the right thing? You don't really because it's a commercial or if it's a, experimental thing. It's more about like playing around, which is great. I like that as well to sort of discover myself like I just did with Joy. But I would prefer to work on something that is narrative.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Well, the great little fashion film and a lot of moving parts. You got the fashion designers. I'm sure that they're all happy. The models. You have obviously they have to look good, makeup team, and then obviously making sure that they're the for the designers. I'm sure they were extra focused on everything looking presentable for the film. So yeah, no, it's an interesting project to do in school, and yeah, I wish you the best in the future. And I'm assuming Cyprus is the future for you, and you're just going to keep making movies and trying your best there, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I am actually, it's funny how you mentioned, I am actually trying to see what's outside Cyprus right now.
Okay,
And personally, it is an interesting transition that I'm in the middle of right now because I was part of the sort of like a non-stop chaos of work in Chicago. And now I'm back in Cyprus where things are kind of way slower in here, but
gotcha.
I'm getting used to that. But I would prefer for things to be a little bit more chaotic. So we'll see where things are in the future. But yeah,
All right, well, let's talk again soon. After you, hope we'll keep in touch, and when you make your next film, send it our way, and we'll love to see it.
sounds good. Thank you for having me.